Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Accidental Isolation, where I like to bring on a guest to speak about a moment in their lives where they may have found themselves isolated, whether that be physically, mentally, or emotionally. I bring this platform to you all to bring awareness to how common it is to be stuck in isolation, to let it be known that everyone goes through them, and you're not alone. I invite guests on the show to come talk about their isolation so that hopefully you all will be able to put tools in your toolbox in life. Today, I'm super excited. We have Taylor on the show.
Hey everyone.
Yes, I met Taylor. Actually, I follow her nonprofit, Not Just a Smile, on social media, and I was like, "Yo, this is dope." Like, I wanted to follow and I wanted to see, about the nonprofit in general. And then one day she posted something on the nonprofit as herself, right? And I followed her page and I reached out from there. And then there's a guest who was previously on the show, Makai Hill. Me and him met before, and then I seen that he was going to be on a mental health panel, and it was hosted by her nonprofit. So that was really dope, and I saw that as a great way to go and meet her and just network. Once we got there, I was excited to get to the panel. I seen it, and yo, like if y'all can see the resilience that she had to put up with that day, it was raining, it was on a rooftop, and like you could just see her like going through things, but she was going through them. Like she didn't stop, she didn't sit, she didn't sulk. Like she was so resilient and like persevering through everything that was going through. And I was like, that's beautiful, and I want her on my show. So like, you, cause I just from there, I didn't know her much, but just from there, I knew she had a great story because she had to learn those skills from somewhere. So here we are. She's on the show, and she's gonna talk to you all about her story and her accidental isolation, and hopefully you all will be able to learn something from it.
Yeah, well, thank you for all those words. I didn't know that you got all of that from the event that day. Listen, y'all, it was stressful. Just like you said, it was a lot. But a little about me. As mentioned, I have a nonprofit by the name of Not Just a Smile Incorporated. We're focused on mental health in Black and Brown communities in the Charlotte Piedmont Triad area, and we do it through a few ways. The first thing that we do is we donate mental health kits to Title I schools in the area to and also help educate them on what mental health looks like and how to use those kits. And we fundraise a lot to cover the cost of therapy for Black and Brown communities. On the side of that, we like to do these things called Fun with a Purpose, which is kind of like a party for a good time for a purpose, similar to the event that you mentioned, and also a staple event that we have called For the People by the People, which is a day party that we partner with some Divine Nine organizations, kind of to have a bit of a like a punch off, use the proceeds to help support our mission in putting together kits. And just kind of do stuff like that all the time. We're just fun but passionate about what we do.
Oh yeah, that's dope. And if you all can see, I'm rocking a shirt
He is rocking the shirt.
today.
Get one, get one.
Definitely tap in, get his shirt, feel real good, nice cool colors.
And it's only $10.
Only $10 now. When I seen that, I was like, yeah, we really got to talk because only she's selling shirts for only $10. You know, now we in the fashion world.
Yeah,
You,
shirts be
man, they be trying to sell you a white tee with
with a
some
logo
printed
on
words
it,
on it
and
for
it's
six fifty.
$100. Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, you can't do that. But yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited for the conversation that we're gonna have today, and I hope I learn just as much as you all learn like through her story. So let's dive into it. Taylor, let us know a little bit about you, like where you from, like just family background, how you grew up, things like that.
Yeah, so one thing about me, I'm from, the very famous PG County, Maryland, or like they call it, Pretty Girl County. I was born in DC, raised in PG County. Is something that's very special to my heart. I'm always telling people about it. For me, it's nothing like it. The culture, the music, the people. I don't know. It's not really a comparison. But I grew up great family. You know how it is growing up while being black. I guess when I talk a little bit about my background, a big part of that is kind of what led me to start Not Just a Smile. Uh, and putting back on that emphasis of growing up while being black, we know that mental health is not a conversation that we have very often.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in high school, I think it was my junior year. So it was I like 16 years old, and I felt like something was wrong. And I didn't know what it was. I had a couple friends, did a little research, and I felt like there was some hints of some things that were depression and anxiety going on with me, but I didn't really know how to properly articulate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the first person that I told was one of my sisters. I have two sisters, so I told my sister that's closest in age to me, and some things happened. She ended up telling my mother, and the immediate response to that was depressed. Like what do you mean depressed? Like, you got a roof over your head, you got clothes, you have a family, you're loved. Like,
Yeah.
you can't be depressed. Anxiety, what is that? Immediately, the anxiety thing took them out because I've been a slam poet since I was in high school. And they were like, how you gonna get up on that stage? You spit them poems, but you saying you got anxiety. You
Yeah.
don't have anxiety. And so it was that immediate, like, dismissal of the way that I was feeling off rip. And that, I mean, that hurt a lot because I felt like I didn't have anyone in my corner. And for me, it was really about the people that I had around me that changed that. I had other peers who were going through similar struggles. I met some adults at my school who were really in my corner, and it was kind of just about growing from there. And that's really what got me here, but not just a smile. And I mean, it's not something that started until 2020. We just celebrated turning 3 on August 7th. And we actually just on Monday became officially a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Hey,
So,
congratulations on
cheers to
that.
that. Cheers to
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
So, that's definitely the one, but I started it while I was at the illustrious North Carolina A&T, where I got a BA in psychology with a minor in multimedia journalism
Hmm.
and graduated summa cum laude.
Okay.
But I only get to brag about that when I talk about it because it doesn't matter outside of
Yeah.
school because nobody cares that you graduated summa cum laude when you graduate from school. But that's pretty, like, that's my biggest background.
Yeah.
Other than that, now I'm getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling at UNC Charlotte while working a full-time job, interning as a therapist, and running a nonprofit. Yeah. So as you can imagine, there's a lot to learn every single day.
Yes, ma'am. And making time for accidental isolation. Thank you so much. We were talking earlier, and there was a chance we might have to postpone them. And I was appreciative of like just the clear communication, like, hey, this might happen. And I was even more excited when she was like, we're still a go. Even if it didn't happen, it was going to happen. But I'm glad we get to sit down today and have this conversation. Um, and wow,
Yeah.
like just big ups to you,
Thank you.
props to you. You've heard something that many black people in America, as well as many kids in America, hear oftentimes, and it's just like the dismissal of our feelings,
Yeah.
like depression, what,
Yeah.
anxiety, what. And we'll dive more into that a little later. Um, and I also want to speak to the anxiety real quick as well, because that's a big reason why this platform is here, because we all face something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And many of us face the same thing or the same title of a thing. So anxiety or depression, many of us face those things,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks different for
For
everybody.
everyone.
So like someone like you being a slam poet since high school, their assumption is you can't have anxiety because you can
Mm-hmm.
get on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Little do they know, which is true. Little do they know,
Yeah.
is anxiety looks different in many
Mm-hmm.
ways. I might be able to get in front of hundred thousands of people,
Mm-hmm.
right, and talk about something, but
Yeah.
in other
Specs
aspects,
is not that.
that
Yeah.
anxiety comes through, and is
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So I'm excited to see where this conversation leads,
Yeah.
and what your anxiety looks like. So hopefully, someone out there, like if they're listening, if they're watching it, they may be able to resonate and
Yeah.
use some of the tools you use to get around it and work through it.
For sure. I mean, I'm excited to be here. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Um, so let's dive into it. Accidental isolation. Me and you spoke beforehand. And we spoke what that means. And if you don't know what it means, go back, watch the intro, listen to the intro. You'll get a quick definition of what that means. In the meantime, Taylor, what was a moment in your life where you found yourself isolated,
Yeah. And I think that
or moments?
yeah, that's really
Yeah.
the one. There have definitely been moments. I mean, as I mentioned before, I definitely have had my battles with mental health, but I've also had, just that always being overwhelmed by things that have caused me to do it a few times. And we're always learning and we're always growing. But I think one that really sticks out to me was maybe one of the first times that I really felt myself isolating, which was when I was a freshman in college. I was running track on a scholarship at Virginia Union University.
Okay.
And I think before I left to go to college, I had already felt myself not being as in love with track as I was before. I think because I felt my body being pulled in so many different ways, and I was aching in so many different ways, and it was kind of just like it wasn't as fun as it used to be.
Hmm.
But, I had made it that far. I did the work. The scholarships were in front of me. That's free money. And at the end of the
School.
day, this is a sport I've been doing since I was like 6 years old. I might as well give it a shot because I made it this far. Let's just see what happens. And so I did. I went to Union because going to HBCU was something that was very important to me. So Union was the only HBCU that offered me money. So I said, okay, it might be a small HBCU, but at the end of the day, my roots are important, so I'm gonna go there. But going to Union, it's a smaller school. Like, I could go look out my window and I could see everybody on the other side of campus. Like, for real, for real. Like, our facilities were smaller and things like that. And it was my first time really being away from my friends. For me, my actual, like, my blood family had never, like, it's never been big and it's never been huge. And all of my siblings are way older than me. Like, one is 7 years older than me, one is 14 years older than me, the other is 17 years older than me. So, like, for me, growing up really did feel like I was the only child, except for the fact that I found my community when I was in high school, and I call those people my family. Like, those are my sisters for real. And so being away from them is something that was really, really detrimental for myself. Not wanting to be at the school that I was really at, falling out of love with track because at the time my coach just wasn't doing what I felt like I needed her to do.
Yeah.
She wasn't training me for the things that I had always been trained to do because I was a multi eventer. So she was making me. I was a multi eventer. So like I did javelin, shot put disc. I did long jump, but I also did short sprints. And so she wasn't putting me in sprint workouts. She was trying to make me like hurdle now, and she wanted me to focus more on jumping, and she wanted me to focus more on throwing. And because of that, I'm not doing any like heavy like speed workouts. So ultimately, I'm going to get slower. And that's something that really hurt me because sprinting was the one, like, my one true love. And after that, like, I don't know, a big wave of depression really hit over me because I'm, like I said, I'm at a school I don't like, and I'm not even loving the thing that I'm here to do in the first place. So what am I supposed to do? I have this money, like, this is how I'm paying for school, so I gotta stick it through. I gotta do it. But like, I stopped like really talking to my parents as much. I wasn't really talking to my friends. I was kind of just cooped up in my room all the time. It was, I wake up, go to morning weights at 6 o'clock, go to class, come back, nap, go to my other classes, go to practice in the afternoon, go to track meets, and like that was just it. And then I got into this place where like I was kind of just like, well, when I could go out and drink, I'm drinking. So now, like, I'm drinking all the time. I'm hanging out with my friends and stuff like that, but still dragging my way to practice. And my body is just not doing. Like, I'm not giving my body what it needs no more. I'm not getting the adequate sleep that I need no more. Like, my mental is messed up. It's all these things that are working against me. And eventually, I really had to. I was talking to my best friend on the phone, Jasmine. Love her to death. We've been friends for 10 years now, and that's a friendship that has always been nurturing. And one of those things, like, from her, she was really just saying, like, well, you always wanted to come to A&T. Why don't you just come? And I'm
Was
like,
she already at
yeah,
A&T?
she was already at A&T. And I was like,
She a
Jasmine.
little biased,
Yeah,
bro.
she was little biased, but I was like, Jasmine, I don't know, like, what about the money? And she was like, but like, what you gonna do for yourself, And I'm like, because you clearly don't like it there. And I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. So I went out on a whim. I applied to A&T. I got accepted, and come the end of my freshman year, I had my acceptance letter. Went to A&T in the fall of 2018, and like I think it changed so much. Like, and I think like the biggest thing that really showed that for me is my freshman year. Like, in the second semester, I was getting sick all the time because I wasn't giving myself what I needed. I was always sick, always sick, always sick. I had got the flu. I was getting like random sinus infections. Like, my body, it was just crazy. And then I went to A&T in my first year. I didn't get sick once. And that's how I knew, like, okay, I had to get out of that environment. And I think like that was really, really the key there. It's like, even sometimes you really have to stop and ask yourself, like, when you're going through that bad thing, when you are kind of moving away from people and things like that, eventually you have to get to this point where you're like, well, how do I pull myself out of it? Because like, no, that's really it. Because the only person that can pull you out of something is you.
Yeah.
Can't nobody else make you. Like,
Yeah.
I had friends who would come to my room all the time, be like, come on, tell me, like, get up, like, let's go this place, let's do it. And yeah, I would go, but it wouldn't change nothing
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I'm still in my head.
You're isolated.
I was
Like,
like,
and that's that everyone notices the physical isolation, but that's that mentally and emotionally isolated. It's like my friends are there, that community that I want or I need, they're
yes,
there. But I'm not.
I'm not
Like,
there.
I'm gonna go out with you. I'm gonna hang out with you, but I'm not there. And
Yeah.
like you even said, you probably were getting sick and stuff, and it was like I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not
Yeah.
feeling it. Nothing against you, but this is what my illness right now is looking like.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing to the isolations is bringing the awareness. And oftentimes we don't see the isolation until we're out of it, and then we realize, okay, this is what we go through. So when did you realize, like, you're at VUU, you start feeling yourself being sick, and or the coach isn't doing what you really want the coach to do? Like, when did you start to realize, like, because I want to ask first, what was the first emotion that started? Was it anger? Was it like just disappointment? Like, this isn't what I came here to do? And then answer that and then go into what did it turn into
Mm-hmm.
for you to feel like, okay, this really isn't the place I want to be anymore.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I felt, truthfully, was lonely.
Uh huh.
I didn't feel supported in my sport. I didn't have my closest friends with me. I was away from my family, people who loved me, and I'm kind of just out here doing my own thing, you know. And I don't know, like something about just feeling lonely.
Yeah.
It's just like once you have that feeling, it's hard to just shake it off. Cause like I can say I'm lonely and I'm in a room full of people that love me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm lonely. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
That's it. And it was, I think, like really come out of it. Like I said, my best friend and I, like, I think at the time we hadn't really spoken for a couple of months. Like it was just random this tip that we had back when we had first went to college, and we didn't speak, and thankfully like we don't get into stuff like that no more. I mean, it's been good, but back then we had some stuff going on. We didn't talk for a long period of time, and so then things moved and shaped, and then eventually we just randomly got on the phone one day, and I think like that conversation, I think that wasn't some like happenstance. I think that was God. I think that was the universe. I think that was something that I needed at the time. You know, I had all of these new people around me who cared about me, but there was a lot of Jasmine was someone who was an anchor for me. Because that was someone who I felt really knew the most about me, that was able to sit and have an honest conversation with me and like really like want some like BFFR, like be for real. Like you really need to like this is not you. Like your body's breaking down. I remember she said that she was like, you're telling me that your body's breaking down. You don't feel good physically. You're telling me that you're getting sick. You said you don't like it there, so
Like, what are you? Yeah, what are you doing?
what are you doing?
Like, you have the answers
Like
getting
why are you
thrown at
really
you.
there? And it's kind of just like even when the thing is that the answers really do be within.
Yeah.
But sometimes something has to happen for you to be like, oh, I knew the answer that whole time, and I think that's what that was for me.
Okay. Yeah. And just having that community, like
Hmm.
having someone.
Community is so important. Community is so important. Having people who really understand you, can really empathize with you.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference.
Definitely. It made a huge difference in your life.
It
As you
did.
said, like it took you out of a place that was physically detrimental to you, like physically making you sick,
Yeah.
and like without the physical there is no mental,
Yeah.
right? So like you definitely have to be able to like be physically well in
Hmm.
order to take care of your mental health. So shout out to Jasmine for sure.
Yeah.
And then another great thing, or like another just a tool that you kind of already mentioned, was just like getting a new environment.
Hmm.
Like when you're feeling um anything,
Hmm.
like when you're feeling these things, being able to transition to a new place,
Hmm.
even if it's not a permanent as switching schools or moving states, but even if it's just a temporary thing, like going to the mountains, going to the water, going somewhere where you just physically need a new environment, um, does something to the brain, and it also allows you to take a deep breath because you aren't in that cloud.
Hmm.
That as someone would say, like you're not in that cloud anymore. You can take a look around.
Yeah.
So that's what you did. You changed your environment, and you're you ain't get sick a whole
Yeah.
year, right?
Yeah.
So obviously your body's thanking you.
Yeah.
Um, what? How did it feel going into this new environment? We're getting out of this isolation, as such, and we're aware of it. We have friends in our corner that's telling us about it. So one, we take this big step because like school's paid for. I have no debt, and then now I'm potentially going to a place where I may have or may not have it, right? But we're taking that leap of faith because this is what I need. And you go to A&T, and now you're feeling. What are you feeling? How are you feeling when you
Yeah.
get there?
I think it was a breath of fresh air. Like I genuinely felt excited. Like when it was about to be time for me to move. I remember there's this one picture of me that my mom took like the day that I moved in,
Uh-huh.
and I was all smiles. I was cheesing hard, but actually, even back up a little bit, I had my sister come with me to North Carolina so that I could go to my orientation.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, even like in my picture ID, like I'm cheesing. Like, I was just so happy
Yeah.
to be there for real. And I think that was a beautiful thing. Like, I think something that people always tell me is that, oh, you have this beautiful smile, right?
Mhm.
And so it's sad, like, when I don't even want to smile because that is something that I love about myself. I do
Yeah.
love my smile. So when I don't feel like I don't like to force it.
Yeah.
I hate forcing a smile because it doesn't do nothing for me. Like, if I'm a smile, I want that to be real.
Enjoy.
So being able to go to a new environment and genuinely feel happy like that, to feel like a weight was off my shoulders, it just changed. It just changed so much for me at that time, and I think like I'm so grateful. Like even as I sit and reflect of that move, like I think that's a story that I will always tell people because sometimes you do have to like leave an environment and do what's best for you, no matter how scary it is. Because getting school paid for, like
Hey, that's hey, school.
school is expensive.
School
Having your
expensive.
entire like having everything paid for, like not only was that a hit for me and my own loans, but that was a hit on my parents too
Yeah.
because now they have to make a sacrifice for me. My parents put loans in their names because I needed to make a decision to make me happy.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm going to be internally grateful for because they could have been like, no. They could have been like, you going to stay at that school unless you're going to get money. And truthfully, because this is a secret, I never told them. When I had left Union, they sent a letter in the mail to my house giving me additional money for my academic performance. So, like, seeing that was like, oh, like, I have all this money.
Oh, so what you saying is you got extra money, you
Extra
just
money.
ain't
I
take it
got, I
all
had extra.
out.
They gave me
Yeah.
extra money, but I left it in the past because I had to make a decision for me, and
When
I
did you take the
did.
money though?
I mean, it
It
was
was
at
already
it was
the
at
check.
Union. No, it was at you. Like it was too late.
Oh,
It was for my
oh,
next
the
school
next
year.
semester.
Yeah, so it was kind of just like like they really was trying to keep
Yeah,
me,
they was trying.
but I just couldn't. I could not.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. Like, there's Justin Brown. He's a team chaplain on one of the earlier shows, and he talked about how he had left coaching
Mhm.
and take a pay cut to
Mhm.
do what his passion was, and his calling was from God. He said
Mhm.
God was telling him to do that. So it's good to hear like these things repeat because there are going to be things, and I'm not calling these things the devil, but like there are going to be things just in general that's going to pull you away from what your body really wants you to do. Right? Your body was telling you, I got it, like physically telling you, I got to
Mhm.
get out of this place, and now the school's like, hey, we're gonna give you this and stay, and we're gonna do this and stay. And like you could have easily stayed in that
Mhm.
situation and not been happy.
Yeah,
A lot
absolutely.
of times people oftentimes stay in situations they aren't happy in,
Mhm.
um, because they think they are, or they may be resilient, right? Or
Mhm.
they might persevere, or
Mhm.
things may change, and things very well can change.
Mhm.
Um, Not telling everyone to just run away from everything,
Yeah.
but when your body, you know when your body's telling you to do something,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel even better when you're able to leave. Like, hey, here's an extra $10,000,
Mhm.
and you can still say you leave. That's
Yeah.
like a reassuring feeling
Yeah.
when you have no regret about that.
For sure. And I mean, it's easier said than done,
Yeah, that's
especially
definitely.
especially when you have other people in your ear. Because I can say, like I said, like that is only one of the many moments for me where, like I wanted to leave a place, I wasn't sure about leaving for all these other reasons. It's like, especially when you have people who are around you and who are close to you telling you that maybe you should stay, you start to question your decisions.
So let's speak about the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University.
Yeah.
So you changed and you got this new environment.
Mhm.
So how was your experience there?
Yeah, it was I'll say it was a whole 180. I think leaving track let me do all of the other things that I ever wanted to.
Hmm.
When you're an athlete, it's about sports.
Yeah.
And so when I left ANC, when I left track and field, I had so much free time. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, how do I be a regular student? Like, I remember the first time when I had to get books, I said, buy my books. I was confused because I didn't have to do that before.
Yeah.
I went, my coach got them all for us. I went and picked them up and I left. It was that simple. So I was like, it was like being a whole new person. Like I felt like a freshman all over again
Yeah.
because I didn't know anything. But I mean, it was cool. It's my sophomore year. In the spring semester of sophomore year, I had crossed into the Gamma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, spring 19. So that was something that gave me sisters.
Yeah.
There's 11 of us in total, and I mean we've had our ups and downs like everyone does, but that was a new type of community for me. I was a first generation college student. I'm the youngest of four siblings. I'm the only one to have graduated college. So it really was like doing things all by myself, and I knew that a big part of that experience was me becoming a part of the Divine Nine, but also a part of the organization that was perfect for me,
Hmm.
and that was Sim Gamma Rho. And I think from there it opened the door for me to one like I've always battled between the is she an introvert, is she an extrovert, is she an ambivert, is she in the middle, or what really is it? But I've always leaned more heavily on the fact that I was an introvert
Hmm.
because like being out and with people, and I think that was a part of my anxiety, like being out and around all these people and like my social battery, like oh, like it was draining and it was too much, and I just chose like to not want to do that thing. But gaining sisters and going into this community is something that kind of pulled me out my shell and turned me into somebody who I'll always be grateful for.
Yeah.
It taught me how to really talk to people. One thing that my friends say is that I could talk to anybody, which I think is true. I think I can make a friend pretty much everywhere, and I think like that is something that propelled me forward. It created opportunity. It allowed me to step out my shell. It let me join organizations like Couture. It let me join the poetry organization on campus. It let me step into spaces like that and make more friends. And I think that that was a big step. Like it was a complete 180 from what freshman year of college was to me at Union.
Hmm.
I started to feel more like me, and I think that that's important because like that's something that's always changing. And I think that freshman year me didn't know who I wanted me to be,
Yeah.
and I think that sophomore year me started to really understand who I wanted to be. And when I figured that out, I sought it out and went for it.
Yeah.
And it kind of just went from there. And it's kind of just what it was. And then COVID hit my junior year, and things kind of it got rocky and it changed. Had to go back home for a while.
Oh
Didn't know what to
yeah.
do.
No, right.
But that's the same year that I started Not Just a Smile because
Okay.
I felt like, well, it was a thought that I had always had, and what better a time than now when I have extra free time because all classes are online. So it's not like I have to go to campus every day. I really felt like I was just me and just free to just do things. So that's when Not Just a Smile started, and I think that if it hadn't been for A&T, I don't think that I would have had I would have wanted to do it as much as I
Yeah.
did because I think that A&T gave me the community because Not Just a Smile, it didn't start with just me.
Yeah.
It started with me in an apartment with my closest friends. It was me, Jasmine, Damien, or Sway. It was Nas, it was DJ, it was the five of us in an apartment, them brainstorming with me for how I was going to do this thing. And it started as an interview series,
Yeah.
just like this, called Smile for the Camera. That was just simply about how there is more, there's more behind that smile. And I think that's the whole like motto for Not Just a Smile. We're not just a smile away from being okay.
Mhm.
And so Smile for the Camera played on that. Like, we can sit in front of this camera, we can smile for it, but that doesn't mean that we're okay.
Yeah.
And we just kind of went from there and we grew from there, and we were able to become bigger and better and more. And so for that, I thank A&T because those friends are the ones that allowed me to even do the thing that I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something real powerful there, and it's something I oftentimes relate too much. I got a tattoo about it's a few scenes from the Joker, and the
Mm-hmm.
quote is it on the bottom is, and so I got the tattoo during the time in my life where somewhat like you, like I've always been the smile person. I've always been the joyous person, the happy person. So the quote says, "Smile because it confuses people. Smile because it's easier than explaining what's in like what you're hiding inside."
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I love this tattoo so much, even though I don't resonate with the quote anymore, is because like it was a time in my life where I had to do that, or I
Mm-hmm.
felt I had to do that, and oftentimes I feel like that's a mechanism that we grow to learn sometimes. Being in spaces that we may have to put a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best thing to do
Mm-hmm.
for your own mental health, but that's something that we often do, like being in front of the camera, being in Divine Nine, being in certain organizations, being in classrooms, uh, and being the natural joyous person. You want to smile, and when people see you smile often, the moment you don't, it's then it's the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing or it's the biggest deal. So it's like sometimes we continue to do that, we continue to do that, and I think that's why like when I seen Not Just a Smile like on the Instagram, I was like, yo, like it resonates because like that was literally me. That is me.
Mm-hmm.
I oftentimes still do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is just like a coping mechanism or a way to just get through something. So to be able to start something like that, just with a group of friends in school, um, and being able to start something like that is powerful, especially with a group of your peers, a group of your friends on a college campus, because that's where a lot of stuff go. Like a lot of stuff goes down on college campuses. So it's incredible that you all was able to start that.
Yeah.
I want to speak more about to you get the A&T, and it's almost like you're a freshman all over again. Because as an athlete, it's hard to kind of find who you are because it's so much time being put into your profession. You go to A&T, you're no longer an athlete, and you spoke about how you felt overwhelmed. What was that feeling of over? Like, was that scary, or what propelled you to continue to like find yourselves? Because you didn't just wake up one day and was like, "Hey, this is what Taylor wants to do." You through that time you learned you wanted to join, Divine Nine organization. You learned that you wanted to do the poetry. You learned you want to do all these things.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, what was the day to day of like just trying to figure out what to do next?
Yeah, I think for me it was really anchoring myself in what I knew already to be true.
Okay.
I think my freshman year there were things that like things that I knew to be true, right? One, I knew that I wanted to be a part of a Divine Eye organization.
Okay.
I knew that before I went to college. Two, I knew that poetry was something that always was special to me. I had been writing poetry since I was in the 5th grade. I joined a slam poetry team when I was a freshman in high school. I knew these were things that were super special to me, super important to me, and meant a lot. And when I was a student athlete, these were things that I stopped writing. Um, being a part of a Divine Law organization was, first of all, it was off the table at Union as a freshman, regardless. But even too, like, it didn't give me time to really sit and think about what was for me. I think at the time, being a first generation college, college graduate, I was really basing a lot of things off of what I heard or what I had saw,
Yeah.
and not off what I would know to be true for myself. And so there was a lot of research that had to go into that. And I mean, I started a little bit at Union, but kind of fell off. And so when I got to ANC, I had to remind myself, okay, Taylor, like, this thing is happening. You're not an athlete anymore. How are you gonna occupy yourself? Because I'm somebody who, like, I have to do something. I can't just not do a thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And for me, that was going back to my roots, going back to what I love. And I think going back to my things that would anchor me, things that I knew were goals for me, things that I knew were ways that I released. Going back to those, that's how I found out who I was. That's how I found myself. That's how I built community, built me, and really just kind of got away from that feeling of like anxiousness about not being an athlete anymore. And also to that point too was also the part of the having a community of people now, because at ANC there are a lot of people that I knew. There were a lot of people from home. First, like, there were a lot of people from home, so like it wasn't like I was starting all over and having to find friends all over
Yeah.
again. There were some people there who I knew would be important, and then it was finding new friends along the way. But having that community and people that I can lean on there to figure some things out on top of everything else, that's what did it thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
helped a lot. In that statement right there, you spoke about going back to your roots, and I think that's important for a lot of people. Especially on that journey to finding what you like to do, what you want to do, because on that journey you're gonna do things that you don't want to do, or
Yeah.
like things that you find out that yeah, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, and that's what that journey is for.
Yeah.
Be able to like see and figure out what I do and what I don't like, and it's interesting that you said I didn't even have to really go far on that journey. I actually just went back home, and like everything I wanted to do was already there. Kind of like what you said earlier, like it was already in me. I didn't really have to do too much. I just had to be around people or be in a space that was open for me to do what I love.
Yeah.
And like at VU, when you were at Virginia, you spoke about how like you didn't really have that space or physically because it was filled with schedules of already athletics and classes, but mentally you didn't have the space because now beyond just the being an athlete, being in school, now you have this other thing in there that's taking up space, which is I feel lonely. I don't want to be here. I don't like the situation. So going to that new environment created a new space for you to like really dive deep and go back home. Um, summa cum laude. We graduate.
The only time it matters.
The only time it matters. It matters whenever you say it matters. That's
Don't nobody care. But this is, first of all, this is just a like a public service announcement, a PSA. And if it's any college students that's looking at this, and you like, ooh, I have to graduate like summa cum laude because my job, all these jobs they're not gonna care.
Yeah.
Like, all that matters is that you got that degree, you passed, like you got the degree, you walked across that stage, and it's about the experience that you built. That summa cum laude do not mean nothing. They don't
Yeah.
care. I don't walk into an interview and they're like, oh, so you graduated summa cum laude.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Unless
not.
you went to like some Harvard or something.
Yeah, unless I went to like one of them Ivy leagues,
Yeah,
they're
I
not.
think.
That's not impressing them.
Yeah.
I, it's not.
And that like that's a good point. Just to mention is not the fact that she says summa cum laude doesn't matter. The reasons you put behind it is why it matters. If that's what you want to do because that's something you've always strived to
Mm-hmm.
do it. Right? We're not telling you don't do it because you don't want to do it, but don't do it for other reasons as far as, oh, when
Yeah.
I get this job, they're gonna look for this. Like, and
Yeah.
that's just like a tale of life. Like, don't
Yeah.
do anything for other people.
Yeah, you got to do it for you.
Don't
Like,
do
for me. Like it really for me was really about the satisfaction. Like just like I said, I graduated summa cum laude.
Yeah.
Because I mean that was a thing for me because it was a complete turnaround. When I was in high school, I went to a private high school.
Mhm.
First through all the way up through 8th grade, I was in public school. And listen, public school in PG County is no joke.
Yeah.
Anybody that's watching, they know what James Madison Middle School is, and it's ghetto. It is. It's ghetto, and the education is not the best. But I wanted to go to a private high school because I felt like I wasn't getting challenged. And so my parents, and this is also why the money for college mattered because my parents dipped into my college fund to
For
send
high
me to a
school.
private school.
Yeah.
But it was something that I knew that I needed because everyone around me was fighting every day. They was getting expelled, they was getting suspended, they was going crazy. They got some wild stories, and I'm like, I have to get out of this. Like at some point, I really was just like, this is not for me. I don't need to do this. And I think my first quarter of high school, I had like a 2.5 or something like that, or 2.6. And I was like, what? Because like when I was in public school, I was getting like A's and B's because it was
Got
easy.
3.5,
It was
3.6.
it was easy. It was nothing. I went to private school, and that work
She
was
the
hard.
twos.
Yeah, that work was hard. I got that 2.5, that 2.6, and my mom looking at me, and I'm looking at her. We like the Spider-Man me. We trying to figure out what happened, and I'm
She
like,
looking at you like I'm paying for this now. You looking at her like,
you pay for this. And I don't know what happened. And it was like, I think by the time I got to my junior year, like I had changed it around in high school. I started getting like, 3.6s, 3.7s because like I really got into what it was. But by the time I graduated, I only graduated with, and not only like I graduated with a 3.0, and I think was it really a 3.0? It might have been like a 2.9. Like I don't know. It might have been a 2.9
you
something.
remember how you said nobody care about the summa cum laude?
Yeah.
Nobody give a damn
It was
about
like
them shit.
it was like look, I graduated.
Hey, I graduated.
I was going to school
I don't
on
even mention them numbers.
right. I had a scholarship. I wasn't worried about that.
Yeah.
So for me to graduate high school with a 2.9, 3.0, and then graduate college summa cum laude, that is something that meant something to me because back when I was in high school, like
You
I
didn't
had
see it.
I had teachers who I had someone who told me that like they didn't feel like because of things like that I wasn't fit to be a leader. Like I had somebody in the high school to tell me that they didn't feel like I was fit to be a leader, that I needed to do more growing, that I needed to do all these different things, and I was trying to tell them like no. Like I feel like I have that potential in me. I know I can do it. And they was trying to tell me, well, I don't think that you're ready for that. And that was something that hurt. And so for me, it was really like me trying to prove to myself that I do got it.
Yeah.
That is me. That I can be that person. That I am a leader. That I can be about school. Like because those are things that I know that I'm good at. And I don't know. Like I said, like summa cum laude is something that meant a lot to me. It wasn't about no job. It wasn't about my parents. It wasn't about nobody else. It wasn't because I was in competition. It was the only person I was in competition was with me.
Yeah.
And that's what that summa cum laude mean to me when I said it.
And look, and she did it. She gonna keep saying it too,
Mm.
cause it means something to her. Look, she better keep saying it. Look,
Yeah.
and you should keep saying it.
Yeah.
Like regardless of who, it doesn't matter to. It
Mhm.
matters to you, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
So we graduate the illustrious A&T summa cum laude. Um, well, we get through COVID first.
Yeah, we
right?
get through COVID.
You was talking through COVID, and that's when you started the nonprofit. You and your friends, you started, not just a smile. Well, you started the series first. You started all of that, and then the real world hits. Right, you're in the real world. You graduated. Right, you go into this job. You got your degree, summa cum laude on it. And what happens next?
Um, I got accepted into UNC Charlotte to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I went straight into that program when I graduated, but also I went through Teach for America to become a teacher.
Hmm.
Because at the time, like I felt like that was something that meant a lot. Because I was thinking back to the teachers that were special to me and how much that meant for me going to the schools that I went to. Um, I wanted someone else to be able to have that same experience and say that, like, to look back when they were in elementary school and be like, oh yeah, my teacher from this grade, like, they impacted me this way and this made me want to be this person. Like, I wanted to be that positive impact for other kids. So I was teaching fifth grade ELA at this school in Charlotte called Devonshire. And, majority of my students were Hispanic and Black. Like, that was the main population. It was a Title I school. And, like, of course, like, it was hard for a number of reasons, but the relationships that I built with my kids were so important. I think I tell people all the time the thing about kids, excuse me,
You good?
so sorry. I tell people all the time the thing about kids is they teach you a lot. And one thing that I really learned from my kids was how to love out loud. Because something about kids, they will never hesitate to tell you that they love you. They will never hesitate to come and give you a hug. They will never hesitate to just check on you. Like, I know it was days when I was having bad days, and I was still coming there with a smile on my face because I'm in charge of all these little
Yeah.
kids. So I don't want to put that on them. And I would just be sitting at my desk, like, just, like, waiting for the day to start. And one of them would walk up to me and be like, Miss Marshall, what's wrong?
You all right?
And I'm like, how do you know that? Because they just do. They just
Yeah.
always do. But the thing about it is that at those schools, those kids are, it's all about the numbers for administration.
Hmm.
It's all about passing those tests. It's all about
To
scoring.
get more money, to get more resources. So I mean,
And it's detrimental to the
yeah.
kids, and that's something that I could not keep doing. And also, like, I couldn't say continuously being micromanaged because they wanted me to worry about the test scores when I was busy building relationships with my kids. And so I had to ask myself, if this is a place that I wanted to stay. And based off that, like, I was like, I love the kids so much, but this is not benefiting me. It was like April, and I'm like, this is not benefiting me, and I'm like, I really don't think I need to stay in this environment because at this point, like, I'm getting sick. I think it was like a lot of things happened. Like, I think my father had a stroke like while I was teaching. It was some other things going on with family. I wasn't happy. Like, I know I wasn't doing good because my parents drove up to Charlotte
Yeah.
from Maryland. They drove down to Charlotte to just stay with me for a couple of days because they knew that I wasn't doing well. They were
Yeah.
worried about me because, like, mentally, like, I was not good at all.
And your body tell you.
Your body tell you
Your body do
I
something
was not.
good for you, girl.
I
Every
was not.
time
Every time.
anytime you not
I
in the
was not.
place you need to be, you gonna get sick.
Hello. I was not doing well at all, and I think I was thinking about leaving, and I was talking to all my friends, and I think that, let me talk to my closest friends. I'm calling them on the phone, and everybody's like, well, if you leave, what about the kids? Who gonna teach them? What about the kids? What about the kids? What about the kids? And nobody said, what
What
about
about me?
you?
Yeah.
What about me?
Hmm.
I'm telling y'all that I'm not happy. I'm not getting good sleep. I'm stressed out. It's hard for me. I can't go to school full time because I don't got enough time, because teaching is not a job that you do your work. You do your job at your job.
Yeah.
You teach the kids when you're at your job, but when you're not there, you have to lesson plan and grade papers and do all the, listen, it's a lot of stuff that goes into teaching. It's
Shout
like
out
it's
to
like
all the
Yeah,
teachers.
shout out to all the teachers. Like, there are a lot of things that go into that, and you don't get to do that at your job, except for, like, maybe when you got your planning block for like an hour, but you're really sitting with the other teachers in your department and y'all talking about that stuff. So it's like, there's no time to yourself. You don't get the pee unless somebody comes to get you. You got about, I would have at most 15 minutes to eat my food.
Hmm.
And don't let it be a day, because it's like right after COVID. Don't let it be a day the kids have to eat in the classroom with me. I
Yeah.
don't even have 15 minutes. I got to stay with them the whole time. Like, there was no time for me in that, and that was not a work environment that was conducive to who I was and what I needed. And so I had to go. I think, like, it was me talking to my parents, and my father, he said something to me that was very special. And this was the video that was when I was small. My father said something to me special. He was like, when he was younger, he missed out on a lot of opportunities because he was scared of what might happen.
Hmm.
Like, he was just like, I gotta stay in the place where I'm at because, like, it's all this uncertainty. Like, what if it doesn't work out? All these other things like that. And so he got caught up in that he missed so much. He was like, the thing about leaving a place is that when you leave a place the right way, when you build the
You
relationships,
can
when
always
you
go back.
you leave kindly, you do it properly, you can always go back. But that opportunity that just popped up, you're never going to get that opportunity again. So when I got that opportunity to go leave the job to be a content creator for this agency, I took it. I left job. My stress immediately like lessened or whatever. Like yeah, I left my kids and like I had like some time with my kids. It was like April to Spencer. There was only a couple weeks left of school. I didn't want to stick it out. I wanted to just start the job. Like it was like let me
Yeah.
just go ahead. So it was a couple weeks left. I spent time with my kids, and my kids were sad. They cried. They were like, Miss Marshall, like you're the only teacher here that cares about us, and you're this and you're
Yeah.
that, and like everyone is not there for us the way that you are, and
What
we're gonna
grade did
miss
you
you. This is
teach?
fifth grade.
Okay.
And so and that was something that meant a lot to me to know that I had that impact on them. So of course, like I gave them my number. I still talk to some of them like to this day. They got my number. They'll randomly like DM me on Instagram or follow me on TikTok or randomly call me or text me something like that. And so to know that they still want to do that with me lets me know that I did what I had to do in the place that I was at.
Yeah.
And so I think I went back to read their names off at graduation, and it was
That is dope.
emotional. Like first of all the teachers there, like they were like, "Why you look so much happier now?" They all said that. Everybody kept saying that you look so much happier, and I'm like, I am. Got to see my kids. We shared some tears. I got lots of hugs. I still have all the gifts that they ever
Yeah.
gave me, all the cards they gave me, all the notes they wrote me. It's just that was another place where I had to do a thing for me, and that changed so much about it. I left, got a new job. I was making more money. I was a lot happier. But then also in the job that I had then, like after that, eventually like there were like it was cool. Like it was a lot of work. Like it was because I managed a few different accounts.
Hmm.
It was a lot, but like it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I'm a big advocate for like if you gotta leave a place, you should leave. Like don't worry about don't worry about it because one thing about that job, they're gonna replace you. Like they'll be fine,
Quick,
real quick
fast.
in a hurry. And because after that, I think like I was at that job on a work trip in Houston, and I saw one of my friends who helped me start the interview series.
Okay. Well, not just.
Sway.
Okay.
His name's Sway. Well, his nickname Sway, or Damien, and saw him out in Houston. Well, he invited me to hang out with him or whatever, and I actually had him come hang out with me and all my friends. It's one night we was drinking, y'all, and he was just like, "Hey, like we have this opening for my company. Do you want it?" And I'm like, but I'm so grateful for the job that I just
Yeah,
got.
that grateful
I'm
buzz.
grateful, like, for them because of them, they put me out of this other place. I only started a few months ago. I don't know if I should go, but I was like, but Taylor, it's more money. It's more money. It's another opportunity. You should take it. So I did, and now I've been there for what, like 10 months now.
Hmm.
So, shoot, I mean,
She
sometimes you
happy?
just gotta leave, and I'm
Hey,
happy.
and like that, I like that might be something I have to sit with. I'm big
Mm-hmm.
on like meditation or, and quick note about meditation. So I am a yoga instructor, certified, and I also teach here at Kali Yoga Center. And just like through that, there are a lot of, not even gonna say negative, but there are a lot of connotations around certain phrases, and like meditation looks different, um, to any and everyone. Meditation can look like sitting crisscross applesauce, right, and just sitting there in silence. There's guided meditations. Meditation is also prayer. Like meditation is also taking a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is talking with friends. Like meditation looks different for everybody. Um, so just a note on that. But I oftentimes like sit with certain emotions because through my life I've experienced times where like if something's heavy on me, I run away
Mm-hmm.
or I go get busy.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm in the practice of now sitting with certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
by you saying that I think that's something I have to sit with now because
Mm-hmm.
I'm always that. I have this, for some reason it's almost like I oversell and undersell myself at the same time. Like if I meet somebody, like I know how to talk good about myself, let them know what I do, but I also undersell myself a lot with a lot of things I do, and that's that has something to do with the childhood and what's going on through there. But just going through that and seeing how that being grateful
Mm-hmm.
can also like keep you back sometimes. Because you're so great, like if
Mm-hmm.
someone does something they don't have to do, or
Mm-hmm.
people look out, and I think I have a loyalty bone,
Mm-hmm.
as far as even as far back as like college, not transferring once I started getting really good and
Mm-hmm.
had other opportunities and staying there. Like
Mm-hmm.
the job I'm at now, last year I left to go play ball in the
Mm-hmm.
spring, and then I got cut. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that was last year. That was this year. And then I got cut, and I came back like a month and a half later, and they let me back. So like I'm still with them now because it's like, oh man, but I love y'all so much because y'all didn't have to do that. And then I'll be, but the whole time I know
Mm-hmm.
y'all need me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's something I definitely have to sit with just being like being grateful and also understanding you can be grateful
Mhm.
and not stay there.
Yeah.
So you're at the new job now, and you're loving it, got a pay raise,
Mhm.
and once again, this is another time in your life where a new environment elevated you
Mhm.
physically, mentally, and emotionally, and it gave you the space to create even more.
Mhm.
So leaving those new environments seem to always uplift and create new spaces for you to
Mhm.
create. Um, and I'm appreciative of your creations because that's how we met at the event, not just the bazaar, which is a really dope event.
Mhm.
Had a
Thank you.
mental health panel, had lots of vendors out there like selling, doing everything, and then had drinks and an open bar with a dance floor for like you said earlier in the podcast, like to where we can bring these positive conversations around. We can bring awareness to mental health, but we can still have fun. Like
Mhm.
even with this podcast, sometimes like I'd be like, I want to laugh more on the show
Mhm.
because it's like it's a heavy, it's a deep topic.
Yeah.
A lot of times people come on the show, they speak about things they may have never spoken about to
Mhm.
anyone. Right? They're real vulnerable. Um, so that's really cool that you're able to put and connect those two dots. Like
Mhm.
when we speak about anxiety, when we speak about depression, when we speak about loneliness,
Mhm.
like those moments may be those things,
Mhm.
but we don't have to be in those things now.
Mhm.
And that was a really cool event that you threw, and it was a success. I don't know how you view it, but I'll tell you as someone who didn't know you, didn't know anything about the nonprofit or what the event really was about.
Mhm.
It was a success.
Thank you.
Um, when I saw you though, we haven't met yet. I gave you a big hug when I was like, I don't know what I said. I think I said something, you doing good or something like that. I know, but I seen it in your face.
Mhm.
It had just started raining. Like we're on a rooftop right uptown Charlotte, so there's no trees,
Mhm.
no nothing. Stuff started blowing all over the place.
Mhm.
So I know like she just like this was her first big event. She
Mhm.
wanted it to be a success and she wanted it to be perfect. She wanted it to be how she wanted it to be. So let's talk about that event. And
Mhm.
I know we spoke a little bit how
Mhm.
it was a little stressful. You
Mhm.
did have a little anxiety. Let's
Mhm.
speak about what that event did to you.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to the event, there was a lot of anxiety that I had. Like I was like, what if people don't come? What if I don't get the sponsors? What if the vendors don't work out? What if it's not enough vendors? What if people from the panel drop out? Like what if all these people don't show up? What if it's this? What if it's this? What if it's this? And I was caught up in all of these what ifs until I think it was one day I was back home and I got caught up in this conversation with this DJ that I met at this club called Lost Society, and we was me talking to people as I do. I was just because I was randomly just like, oh, like how long you been DJing, and then that just turned into a whole different conversation because I was just curious because like sometimes I be bored and I just want to
Yeah.
try new things. And we got into this whole conversation. I'm telling him about what I do, or whatever, and he's telling me about how like the first event that he ever threw as a DJ, like it wasn't all these people. Like actually, like he lost a lot. Like he was at a loss, like with money and things like that from doing the event. But that event is something that was like his first, like his stepping stone to being what he is now. And just like about like like how like really just like accepting things for like what they are and like letting the event play out and things like that. And like it was a really important conversation for me because I had to realize, whatever not just the bazaar was going to be was exactly what it was going to be, and I just had to let it be and let it flow. And like so that was how my mindset shifted, and I let it be that thing. And I think it wasn't until like maybe like a week before I'm looking at the ticket sales and I'm like, I don't know. Like, are
Yeah.
people really coming? I think it was like I had maybe like 35 people who had bought tickets. Because you know how people are. They just last minute about everything,
They like
especially black
to
people.
show up to the door.
Especially black people. They're last minute, so it's like 35 ticket sales. And I'm like, people not going to come, but it's okay because that's not what fills the room.
Yeah.
Love is what fills the room. People who support you is what fills the room, so it's okay. Like, that's how I had to really think about it. But then, like, it was like the night before. Next thing you know, it's the night before, and I'm at 60 tickets. And I'm like, oh, okay. We at 60. That's cool. That's cool. It's a day of the event. And tickets, I'm getting a notification on Eventbrite. It just keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. I look at it and it says 80. I'm like, oh, 80? Like, okay. I look at it again. It says 90. Next thing you know, it was like 104 or something like that. So 104 people bought tickets. And then it's just more people coming to the door and just randomly like showing up. And I remember because I had my friend Kaya doing the ticket table, and she was like, "Yeah, this man showed up with his daughter, and he was like, yeah, we found it because we searched up black events in Charlotte." And like that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me. And so the day of the event, this is all during the event, and the next thing you know, like we're on the panel and this random Right, they told me come here real quick, so I stand up from the panel because they're like trying to motion me over, and I'm like, what can be so important that they're trying to pull me
I'm in
off
the
the
middle of
panel?
this.
Because I'm kind of getting irritated because like I'm sitting here trying to listen to the panelists, they motioning me to just come here real quick, and I'm like, what do y'all want? So I get up, I step outside, I'm like, what's up? And they point. And I look out because I was usually on the rooftop. So I look out, and next thing you know, I just see this big, dark, gray cloud coming. I said, you have to be kidding me. But I'm like, okay. They like, but it's okay. It says it's only going to last for like 15 minutes. It's cool. So I'm thinking it's about to be like some chill, like little
A
drizzle.
little drizzle.
Little drizzle.
Oh
Next
man,
thing you know,
listen.
it starts raining. And first it's light, and next thing you know, it's just like just heavy, like torrential downpour, just
Yeah.
like going crazy. So, because I think before that, like I told everybody around, like, like, hey, like the rain about to start. Y'all still gonna rock out with us? Everybody was like, yeah. We told the vendors to come in, but before all of the vendors could get in, the rain starts, and so like now, like it's a tent. This tent flew up in the air. It ripped apart. It fell on the rooftop. My president, like Mila, had to go and grab it. Shout out Mila because first of all, she like what like 120 pounds, if that, jumped up on the roof to grab the tent down in the middle of the rain. Everybody trying to figure it out. We trying to close the doors. The rooftop floor starts
Yeah,
flooding.
flooding.
And I'm just like, oh my God, like, how am I supposed to handle this? Because it just kept getting worse. Like, it was first, it was raining hard. Then the tent flew, and like, we had to stop the panel because my mouth dropped while we're
Yeah.
on the panel. So the tent flying, I'm like, oh my God. Now the rain is hitting on everybody's back. I'm like, okay, what are we supposed to do? It's okay, we about to figure it out. It's fine. Everybody about to come in. Next thing you know, the floor start flooding, and I'm like, oh, well, shoot, it's getting worse. Like, it's just getting worse. So every time I come up with a solution, something else happens, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, damn, what am I supposed to do? And so I'm just like, I had to just pause for a second. I said, okay, what can we do?
Everybody get free shots.
Everybody get free shots. Everybody get around the shots. And when I first said that, nobody moved. I'm like, okay, I don't know about. So I had to hop back on the mic. I'm like, okay, well, we said free shots. Like, are y'all gonna grab this shot? Like, take the shots. The rain finally passes. We start the panel back up. Everybody staying. I think like that was my way when I looked at it. I thought about when the panel was over, the people who asked the questions for the panelists were the vendors. And
Yeah.
at the time before the rain started, the vendors weren't inside the tent because they wanted to wash their tables. So for me, it really in that moment, it was like, I think the rain was supposed to happen to fill the room that we were in. And so that was kind of like that's something that I try to do because things do happen, and while like some things just happen, some things do happen for a reason, and that room got filled and those questions got asked and those people received that message because that rain happened. So after that, everybody stayed, nobody left, more people showed up because I think in addition to the 104 tickets, at 104 tickets on Eventbrite, I believe like 90 people show up, and then on top of that, I think about like 40 more people bought tickets at the door. And on top of that, you still had the vendors, you had my people that were in the organization, people who helped set up. So there was over 150 people at that rooftop.
Yeah.
So people stayed, they danced, they drank, they had a good time, and I think that was all that matters. And I think what really made me realize that it was a success was when it was the next day, I was on campus for class, and I was walking out on like one of our breaks, and this girl, I was holding the door for somebody that was walking out, and she was like smiling and waving at me, and I was like, hey, she was like, you probably don't know who I am, but I was at your event yesterday. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, like it was so great, it was so amazing, it was so this, it was so that. And I was like, hearing something like that, this being the first event that we did in Charlotte, that meant everything to me.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like going through the storm,
Literally.
figuratively and literally. Like it's a cloud. Most of the time is just a cloud. You just got to keep going, right? Walk past the cloud, which is what you were doing. You were just like figuring out. All right, this happened. Let's figure out the next. All right, this happened. Let's figure out the next. But those clouds keep moving, and that cloud moved on. It gave you your troubles. It gave you some problems for you to fix, for you to solve. So, so for like what you said, like you can fill that room. You can get the people that need to be in there, and that probably was something you didn't even think about. Having all the vendors outside. Having about 15, 10, 20 people outside, not even being able to be involved in the event for that to happen and bring them in, right? Like I'm a big believer in like things happen for a reason, or not even things happen for a reason. Things happen. Like I truly believe that there's very few things we can control in this life. Personally, I believe there's only one thing we can control in this life, and that's our mind, right? Because we can't even control our physical body half the time. So being able to just see when things happen and then deal with it when it comes. And like I said, like being someone who is an observer of like you and just everyone in the organization. I don't even know who's in the organization, but I could tell that everyone that was in that tent was willing and ready to help and do what they can do to make sure this keeps going for you and for the organization, which speaks to the organization and you as a whole. Like people are willing to mess their fresh J's up,
Yeah.
like mess their Yeezys up, mess their whatever up, just to help and make
Yeah.
sure this goes on. Um, the storm, like figuratively and literally, like was something you went through, and that was an opportunity for anxiety to come up, where anyone could have met those moments and was like, "Hey, y'all, sorry for the inconvenience. Like, we're done. You know what I'm saying? We'll deal with refunds. We'll deal with all that later, right?" That was a moment where you could have ran. That was a moment where you could have went to a new environment, right, which has helped you in the past. But you being able to listen to your body and understand, like, no, sit in this, handle it, right? And that's a detriment to like your parents, how you were raised. That's all the way up through your Virginia Union experience, all the way through your A&T experience. Like all these experiences accumulated to this one moment where anxiety is present and how we're going to deal with it. Um, so to wrap up the show, I always like to get the guests to point out 3 or more tools that they use to navigate through their accidental isolations. So what would you say were some of the tools that you use to navigate through life?
Tool, the first tool for sure would be community. I think leaning on your community is what's most important. Without, you can't do it all alone. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially when we're talking about moments of isolation. Like sometimes it takes more than just you to pull yourself out of it. But on the verse of that too, the second thing is anchoring yourself in who you know you are. I think that was definitely one, like remembering your roots, remembering what makes you who you are, remembering what grounds you, and going back to those things. And I think the third one would have to be I think a third one would have to be just that, remembering that you don't have to stay in a place that is not for you. Like no matter how grateful you are, no matter how much you think that other people might be hurt if you leave, like no matter any of those things, you have to remind yourself, like remember to do things for you. Like if nothing else, remember, like in the end of it all, if it doesn't hurt anyone else, like actually hurt somebody else, not just like, oh, they're gonna be so upset if I leave. Like no, if it doesn't actually hurt someone else, if you're not like just like, if it's just not this like horrible like decision, do it for you, period. That's it.
Yeah. Now those are 3 incredible tools that I hope you all heard throughout her stories. Like things she actually used through her life, like applicable tools that she actually used to fix and work through and navigate through her life. Taylor, I appreciate you, especially this on a day like today when you had 100 different things to do.
Yeah,
I appreciate you making time for me.
absolutely.
And that's a wrap.